Stop being nice to men. Let me tell you why that mindset is holding you back. People often confuse being nice with being kind, but there's a huge difference. Kindness comes from strength. It's deliberate and intentional. Niceness, on the other hand, is often a default for people who avoid conflict, want to be liked, or fear rejection. When you're too nice, you're not creating an atmosphere of mutual respect, you're devaluing yourself. Men don't respect what they don't have to work for. If you give respect too freely, it loses its value. It's human nature to take for granted what comes easily. When you're overly nice, bending over backward to accommodate someone, what you're really doing is signaling that your time, your energy, and your presence are cheap. Think about that for a moment. Do you truly believe that's the impression you should be leaving? Because that's exactly what happens when you put niceness ahead of strength, self-respect, and boundaries. Respect is earned, not handed out like a free sample. Too many people approach relationships thinking they have to be liked to be respected. That's not how it works. Men, real men, don't respect someone because they're always agreeable. They respect someone who stands firm, who has principles, and who doesn't flinch in the face of disagreement. Respect comes from strength, and strength comes from knowing your value. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard and demanding the same from others. When you're too nice, you also lose your edge. You stop challenging people, and when you don't challenge someone, you're not pushing them to grow. Men thrive on challenge. It's what drives them to achieve, to prove themselves, and to evolve. By being overly nice, you're robbing them of that drive. You're not inspiring them to reach their full potential. You're making it too easy for them to settle into mediocrity. In the past few years, the startup ecosystem has grown considerably. Why would you want to play a role in someone's stagnation? This doesn't mean you should be rude or abrasive. It's not about being mean. It's about being real. It's about knowing your worth and making sure others know it too. If you're always trying to please, always saying yes, always smoothing things over, then you're not showing up as your authentic self. You're showing up as a diluted version of yourself, shaped by the fear of not being liked. That's not respect. That's compliance. And compliance doesn't lead to strong relationships. It leads to dependency, resentment, and ultimately a lack of mutual respect. When you shift your focus from being nice to being strong, everything changes. You start setting boundaries, and those boundaries teach people how to treat you. You stop prioritizing other people's comfort over your own dignity. You stop fearing rejection because you understand that rejection is just a filter. It helps you separate those who truly value you from those who are only there for the convenience of your niceness. And when you stop being nice, you give men the opportunity to step up and meet you where you are. You're no longer making it easy for them to coast along. You're challenging them to rise to your level. This shift in mindset also empowers you to speak your truth. Being overly nice often means holding back, sugarcoating, or avoiding difficult conversations altogether. But the truth is powerful. When you speak it, even if it's uncomfortable, you command respect. People may not always agree with you, but they'll respect your courage and authenticity. And that respect is far more valuable than temporary approval. It is also important to remember that respect and kindness are not mutually exclusive. You can be kind without being overly nice. Kindness is strength. It's about giving without losing yourself, helping without enabling, and supporting without sacrificing your own needs. Kindness is rooted in self-respect, whereas niceness often stems from a lack of it. When you're kind, you're showing strength, confidence, and empathy. When you're nice, you're often just avoiding conflict or seeking validation. So stop being nice to men. Instead, demand respect by showing up as your strongest, most authentic self. Respect isn't something you can beg for or manipulate people into giving. It's something you command by the way you carry yourself, the standards you set, and the value you place on your own time and energy. And when you do this, you'll find that the relationships you build are far stronger, more fulfilling, and more respectful than anything niceness could ever achieve. Respect starts with you. When you respect yourself, others will have no choice but to follow suit. And that's the kind of power you should be striving for. Stop trying to agree with everyone, especially men. Being agreeable might seem like the easiest path to harmony, but it's the quickest road to being overlooked. Real connections, real respect, and real growth come from challenge, not compliance. When you're constantly conforming, bending, and molding yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you're not being true to yourself. You're betraying your own values, opinions, and strength. And guess what? Men notice. They may not always say it, but they respect someone who has the courage to disagree, to hold their ground, and to stand for something. Being agreeable all the time is like walking on eggshells. It might keep the peace temporarily, but it's exhausting. And it ultimately leads to resentment, both from you and from others. When you don't challenge men, you're not inspiring them to be better, and you're not giving them a reason to truly value your presence. Men grow when they're pushed, tested, and held to a higher standard. And if you're constantly smoothing things over, making excuses, or nodding along just to keep the conversation comfortable, you're denying them the opportunity to rise to their full potential. Challenging doesn't mean being argumentative or combative. It's not about picking fights or creating unnecessary tension. It's about holding your ground when something doesn't sit right with you. It's about voicing your opinion even if it's unpopular. It's about having the confidence to say, I see things differently, and standing firm in your beliefs. That kind of strength is magnetic. It's the kind of strength that commands attention, respect, and admiration. When you challenge someone, you're essentially saying, I see more in you and I expect more from you. That's not an insult, it's a gift. It's a way of showing that you believe in their potential and that you're not willing to settle for mediocrity. And here's the thing, men thrive under that kind of pressure. They may not always admit it, but they respect the people who push them to be better. They respect those who refuse to let them coast. And that respect is far more valuable than the fleeting approval you might get from always agreeing with them. Challenging men also forces them to respect your intelligence and perspective. When you're too agreeable, you're essentially erasing yourself from the conversation. You're saying, my thoughts don't matter as much as yours. That's not how you build mutual respect. Mutual respect comes from engaging, debating, and standing up for your point of view. It comes from showing that you're not afraid to disagree, to question, or to push back when something doesn't align with your values or beliefs. The truth is, men respect strength. They respect people who are unapologetically themselves, who are willing to stand out rather than blend in. Being overly agreeable makes you blend in, it makes you forgettable. But when you challenge someone, you stand out. You make them think, reflect, and grow. And in doing so, you create a relationship that's built on mutual respect and admiration, not on superficial niceties or empty agreements. It's important to understand that challenging someone doesn't have to be a negative experience. It can be done with kindness, empathy, and a genuine desire to see them succeed. It's not about proving them wrong or tearing them down. It's about helping them see a different perspective, pushing them to think deeper, and encouraging them to strive for more. That kind of challenge is a form of respect in itself. It shows that you care enough to invest in their growth and that you value your own perspective enough to share it. When you stop being overly agreeable, you also start to discover who's truly worth your time and energy. The people who respect you for standing your ground are the ones who are worth keeping around. The ones who dismiss you, criticize you, or try to silence you are not. Challenging someone isn't just about earning their respect. It's also about filtering out the people who don't deserve yours. It's about creating a circle of relationships that are built on strength, authenticity, and mutual respect, not on fear, compliance, or shallow approval. So stop conforming. Stop nodding along just to keep the peace. Stop sacrificing your values, opinions, and strength for the sake of temporary harmony. Instead, challenge men to be their best selves. Challenge them to grow, to think, and to rise to a higher standard. And in doing so, you'll earn their respect, their admiration, and their trust. And that's far more valuable than anything you'll gain from being overly agreeable. Be strong enough to challenge and confident enough to stand firm. The people who truly matter will rise to meet you. Control the frame. This is where power lies, not in being the loudest, the flashiest, or the most accommodating, but in setting the tone and pace of every interaction. When you let someone else dictate how things unfold, you give away your influence. You let them lead, decide, and shape the narrative. That's not where you want to be. If you want respect, admiration, and authority, you have to take control of the frame from the start. What does controlling the frame mean? It's simple. It's owning your energy, being deliberate about your actions, and making others respond to you rather than reacting to them. Too many people walk into interactions seeking approval, adjusting their behavior to fit what they think the other person wants. That's the quickest way to lose respect. When you're constantly reacting, you're like a puppet, easy to predict, easy to manipulate, and impossible to respect. Men sense this immediately. If you're chasing their validation, you've already lost the frame. Instead, focus on creating an atmosphere where others respect your presence because of the energy you bring. This isn't about being aggressive or dominant in an obvious way. It's about being calm, composed, and deliberate. People respect someone who isn't easily shaken, who doesn't overreact, and who knows exactly who they are and what they stand for. When you walk into a room, your energy should say, I belong here, and I'm not here to prove it to anyone. That confidence sets the tone, and others will instinctively adjust to it. Controlling the frame also means being intentional with your words. Too often people fill silences with meaningless chatter because they're uncomfortable with stillness. Don't do that. Silence is powerful. It creates tension, and tension commands attention. When you speak, speak with purpose. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't explain yourself unnecessarily or seek permission for your opinion. The moment you start over-explaining, you give away your authority. Speak less, but make every word count, and you'll find that people start leaning in, listening more carefully, and valuing your input. Another part of controlling the frame is being unpredictable. Predictability is boring, and it makes you easy to dismiss. If people can guess your reactions, responses, or behavior in any situation, they stop paying attention. Keep them on their toes. This doesn't mean being erratic or inconsistent. It means keeping an air of mystery and never letting anyone feel like they've fully figured you out. People respect what they can't fully predict because it forces them to stay engaged. You also have to remember that controlling the frame doesn't mean dominating every interaction. It's not about overpowering others. It's about creating a dynamic where your presence naturally sets the tone. This means being adaptable without being a pushover. When you're flexible, it shows strength, not weakness, because it proves you're not rattled by changes or challenges. Flexibility within a framework of confidence and control is one of the most powerful positions you can hold. Men respect someone who carries themselves with this level of certainty. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it and the energy behind it. When you're in control of the frame, you don't need to demand respect. It's given to you automatically because it's clear that you're not desperate for approval. Desperation is the enemy of respect. The more you seek validation from others, the more you tell them that their opinion of you is more important than your opinion of yourself. As I said about emotion, the importance of people are this: those that owe it to you don't have any energy. To master the frame, you also need to stop reacting emotionally to every little thing. Emotional reactions are a dead giveaway that someone else has control over you. If someone can push your buttons, they own the frame. The ability to remain calm under pressure, to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, is one of the most powerful ways to maintain authority in any interaction. Men respect composure because it signals strength, confidence, and emotional intelligence, all qualities of a person who is in control. Finally, controlling the frame is about boundaries. Without clear boundaries, you can't truly hold the frame because you're constantly letting others dictate your limits. Set your boundaries early, enforce them consistently, and don't apologize for them. People respect those who respect themselves enough to say, "This is what I will and won't tolerate." It's not about being rigid. It's about showing that you have standards and you're not afraid to uphold them. When you take control of the frame, you stop being a passive participant in your interactions and start being the one who shapes them. This shift is subtle but powerful. It changes the way people see you, the way they treat you, and the level of respect they offer. And most importantly, it allows you to maintain your authenticity and integrity in every situation. Take control of the frame, and you'll find that respect, admiration, and influence naturally follow. Stop lowering your standards. Stop apologizing for having them. High standards are not a burden. They're a reflection of your self-respect and a guide for how others should treat you. Yet so many people water them down, thinking they'll make themselves more approachable, more likable, or more desirable. Let me tell you something. Compromising your standards doesn't earn you respect. It earns you a seat at the table of mediocrity, where no one thrives, no one grows, and no one truly values you. Men don't admire what's easy to obtain. They value what they have to work for. When you lower your standards, you're essentially telling them, "I'm not worth the effort." And if you don't believe you're worth the effort, why should they? The truth is, people, especially men, will rise to the level you set for them. If you demand excellence, they'll step up. If you settle for less, they'll gladly meet you there because it's easier. But easy doesn't create respect. Easy doesn't create admiration. Easy doesn't build strong, lasting connections. It creates convenience, and convenience is disposable. High standards aren't about arrogance or entitlement. They're about knowing your worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. This applies to every area of life: relationships, friendships, career, and even the way you treat yourself. If you allow yourself to tolerate laziness, disrespect, or dishonesty, you're teaching the world that you're okay with it. And once you set that precedent, it's incredibly difficult to reverse. That's why it's so important to enforce your standards from the very beginning. Enforcing your standards doesn't mean being harsh or rigid. It means being clear and unwavering. When you set a boundary, stand by it. When you say you expect something, follow through. If someone can't meet your standards, don't lower them to accommodate them. Let them go. This isn't about being cruel. It's about protecting your energy and surrounding yourself with people who truly value and respect you. Because the reality is, people who can't meet your standards don't belong in your life. They'll drain you, hold you back, and make you question your worth. And you deserve better than that. When you embrace your high standards, you inspire others to elevate themselves. Men in particular thrive when they're challenged. They respect someone who has the courage to say, "This is what I expect, and I won't settle for less." That kind of confidence is rare and it's magnetic. It commands attention, respect, and admiration, and it weeds out the ones who aren't willing to put in the effort. I waste your time with someone who can't rise to meet you. Life is too short for mediocrity. Having high standards also protects you from settling for situations that don't serve you. When you know what you want and what you won't tolerate, you avoid wasting time on people or opportunities that don't align with your goals. It's not about being picky, it's about being intentional. You're not just accepting what comes your way, you're actively choosing what you allow into your life. And that choice it puts you in control and ensures that your time, energy, and presence are invested in things that truly matter. Of course, some people will criticize you for your high standards. They'll say you're too demanding, too difficult, or too unrealistic. Let them. Their opinions don't define you. What they're really saying is that they're uncomfortable with the fact that you refuse to settle. That's their problem, not yours. The people who truly respect you will admire your standards and strive to meet them. They won't see them as a threat, they'll see them as a challenge to grow. Don't mistake high standards for perfectionism. No one is perfect, and expecting perfection will only lead to disappointment. High standards are about values, effort, and integrity. They're about expecting honesty, respect, and commitment, not perfection. And when you find someone who aligns with those standards, you'll know it's real because they'll meet them willingly, not out of obligation or fear of losing you. Embracing high standards is also an act of self-love. It's about saying, "I am worth the best and I won't settle for less." That kind of self-respect is contagious. It inspires others to treat you with the same level of respect, and it sets the tone for every interaction you have. When you carry yourself with that level of confidence and assurance, you attract the right people, opportunities, and energy into your life. Anything you want to meaning, whatever the goal is. Now, stop apologizing for your standards. Stop explaining them. Stop feeling guilty for expecting more. Your standards are a reflection of who you are and what you value. They're not negotiable and they're not up for debate. Own them, enforce them, live by them, and watch how the world adjusts to meet you where you are.